Hi, welcome back to the DXP Fundamentals course for Liferay. This is the last module, Module 4. We're going to be looking at how to build sites real quickly. The objectives for this module are 1. Learn how to create and manage new sites to reflect a business's need. And secondly, learn what features are available to you when you're creating these new sites. Again, that is super helpful because often we are unaware of what are the features that Liferay provides. It's good to know what they are so we don't have to reinvent the wheel or come at it from another way that would require a ton more work. So what tasks are we going to try to accomplish here? We're going to examine some of the different use cases that Livingstone has for their hotels and resort sites. Secondly, we're going to use page types, a new concept to create public Livingstone Life pages. We're also going to create our own content type and then take some more practice at modifying page fragments. You remember from the first module we did some of that. We're going to do a little bit more here in depth. I won't go over the prerequisites in detail again. It's the same as always as far as starting up your Tomcat bundle and unzipping your exercises in the correct directory. Alright, so let's start talking about building sites. Again, from Module 1, we talked about the different business use cases, partner portals, intranets, customer portals, public-facing websites, and marketing sites. And we're going to see that Livingstone has a couple of these needs themselves. So for example, here are some of Livingstone's site requirements. So Livingstone Life could be considered like a marketing website. And as far as the Livingstone Hotels and Resorts websites, they're going to have a different one for each region, and that's going to continue to expand as their business expands. Livingstone Loop could be considered their intranet site, where they have processes and workflows and sort of different ways to collaborate within the company, perhaps message boards, news, announcements, stuff like that. And finally, the Livingstone Rewards sites, which we've worked a little bit with. There'll be sites that you can opt into to participate in their rewards programs and get access to more than the average user. What is a Liferay site? It is a group of content and pages, simple as that. How do you manage sites in Liferay? We already have experience with this through the Liferay Site Administration panel. This is under the product menu. So we've already interacted with this panel a couple of times. We've used the build menu quite a bit to examine page fragments to add new private and public pages. As far as content and data, we've used that to look at blogs and web content and to create those types of content. We haven't worked a lot with categorization, but this has to do with categorizing assets, recycling bin. From here, you can specify when assets should be cleaned up and how much time that should take. So as far as the people section, from here, on the last module, we spent some time creating site teams to control permissions when we didn't want to use roles. There's other ways that we can manage site membership in the people section. And finally, there's configuration and publishing. We used the publishing section way back, I think in module 1 or 2, where we imported the Liferay archive file. So from here, you can import and export your sites. That will create that Liferay archive file when you export a site. You can also handle staging from publishing. Liferay has 3 different types of site membership. The first one is open. What this means is that a user can come to your site and they can become a member. That's pretty typical if you've ever gone on any website where you create your own account. Restricted means that a user says, hey, I want to be a part of this site, but at that point, a site administrator needs to approve that request before they can become a site member. And finally, the last one is private membership. This means that the user has no option to become a site member unless a site administrator manually selects and adds that user. You can control site membership by going to Sites under the control panel, clicking on a site, and then choosing what kind of membership you want. Now, as far as organization sites, which we talked about in a previous module, those sites are going to be by default a private site, meaning, yeah, you can't just go to that site and become a member, but instead, that site is going to have implicit members, which are the members of the organization. And anytime you add or remove members to the organization, that's going to reflect in the site membership. In addition to being a private site by default, also, organization sites do not allow membership management by default. And what that means is that typically a site administrator can go into a site and add or remove members, even if it's a private site, right? Because the site administrator always has that ability. In this case, when you turn this flag off that says allow manual membership, what that means is that you expect for an organization site that it's always just going to contain the exact same members that are in the organization. So they should be in sync. The organization should be in sync with the site membership. And that's why we would turn that flag off by default. However, you can go in there and turn it on if you want to allow manual membership. Site hierarchies, what are those? Well, just like you could create a page hierarchy, you can also create site hierarchies. These would be created automatically if you are creating organization sites. Let's say you had organizations and sub-organizations. When you create sites for those, they'll automatically become this hierarchy of sites. Another use case for site hierarchies, apart from the organization sites, would be this ability to limit members of a child site to members of the parent site. Let's say you're creating a site for the US region and you want to create sub-sites or child sites for different states in the United States. For example, you could limit membership to that child site to only include members that are already part of the parent site. And that could be another use case. But you have that option when you're creating your sites. So we're at our knowledge check for the first video. Go ahead and take some time to look at this and try to fill it out on your own or pause the video. Sites are groups of content and pages. And they have the 3 different kinds of membership available, which you can configure through the control panel. That would be open, meaning you can become a member of a site at any time, or restricted, meaning you can request membership, and if you're approved by a site administrator, you will become a member. And the last one is private, meaning that you really can't even request membership. In fact, a site administrator needs to add you themselves manually. We also learned that an organization site is a private site by default, and it includes organization members as site members by default. And furthermore, you can't even manually edit the membership for an organization site by default, although you can turn manual membership on. And lastly, in Liferay, you can create site hierarchies. If you want to restrict membership to membership in a parent organization, or another use case for this we talked about was organization sites and how those need to be in a hierarchy that matches the organization hierarchy. Sweet, so we're done with that. We'll move on and do an exercise in just a minute. See you there.